Alright guys, TacticalRab again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Major drama in the CDL last night. Dashy exposes the Miami Heretics are refusing to scrim the current reigning world champions because they've got a league match in a week or so. Treating that, it seems like a very big deal indeed. But also, their series against Toronto was incredibly controversial, especially some of the comments hitting the timeline after the fact. Envoy versus FormaL, getting into some drama over Lqgend as well. We've got a lot to get into. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, all that good stuff. We're going to start with a couple of things. The Maddox is now in the game. There are questions on whether it's going to be allowed or not. The pros understand, well, basically as predicted, maybe not understandably. There are some questions on whether the Maddox is actually that good or not, but the pros have decided their meta and they will be sticking with it. So basically the Maddox has already been GA'd. There is this happening with OpTic as well. They're running the OpTic Huntsmen Pro-Am. So only two teams, OpTic Texas, Shotzzy, Huke, Merc and Dashy, and then the OpTic, well, the nation team, but effectively the Huntsmen, Renegade, Kips, Neum and Raspy. That's the team of four over there, and they'll be running mixed rosters, which is probably a good idea. They're going to do this live from the Hex Quarters on the 18th of December, so that's pretty good because just after the second weekend of league matches, when everything is then shut down effectively with the CDL over Christmas, New Year, there's at least something going on. So thought that was pretty cool to see. There's also this weekend's a Challengers Cup going on, and this is a big one. There's going to be plenty coming up this month as well, and in January, Challengers action. We've got some names back in business. I mean, have a look through some of these teams. There's names that we've not seen competing in quite some time. You know, JCap 415, Classic, Gravity. We've got Booba Dooboos actually playing in this one as well. We also have this one with John Exotic and Noisy and Fame, and they're back involved. So, you know, some players having a good time here, reminiscing on some COD. Now, Huntsmen, they fell out relatively early. They went down in Game 5 to Flames' team, so they didn't make it to Sunday. They got eliminated at top 16, which, to be fair, okay, it's not great, but it wasn't actually that bad, given that some other teams also dropped out maybe earlier. Like, okay, Huntsmen obviously got some work to do. Not atrocious, not ideal. They've, you know, we'll see how they go from here. Now, the Stallions Red team, they also got eliminated top 16, and they got swept 3-0 by the number 1 seed. That's Wake and Geo, 2Real and Yuli's team. They don't make it to Sunday either. So anyway, there you go. Those are your Challengers updates. Let's talk about some of the drama from last night, because this was always going to be a spicy series. Heretics playing Koi. We know the amount of drama they've had in the off-season. ReeaL got poached away by Toronto. They wanted him before. They eventually got him this season. Heretics said that they gave him a verbal agreement, or he gave them a verbal agreement that he was going to stay. They did that whole tweet about it, and it's all been chaos over the last couple of months. Now, Heretics, we know what they were doing last year. Very competitive franchise. They were mixing it up with the big boys at the big events, and they created some fantastic storylines. This season, I think, is always going to be a challenge for them to maintain that level, or even to try and go one step further. Losing ReeaL is definitely a loss. They've brought in Lurqxx, of course, who hopefully as time goes on can continue to be a valuable part of that roster, but Toronto, considered by many to be the favourites yesterday, really, it's tough to say what to expect out of Miami, because it's difficult to believe that Renker and Super can be quite as good as last year. Like, maybe they will be as time goes on, but they need to be, effectively, if that team wants to be as good, and then losing ReeaL, especially to Toronto, was a bit of a problem. So we know that the Spanish scene has been licking their lips for this, right? The Koi fans, the Heretics fans, it's a major rivalry in Spain. It's now a major rivalry in the CDL as well, and well, we're going to see some of the repercussions of that. So Toronto take the game one without much difficulty at all. They started off 130-0. They close it out with a pretty comfortable 100-point club in the end. The search and destroy got real interesting, actually. Toronto had a pretty big advantage early in this one. I thought Insight had maybe got this clutch in and got the defuse, but he didn't. He blows up, and then the series goes further. But then we get to an overload on exposure, and this was an absolute demolition job, right? Koi just ran through them. It was an 8-0. You know, literally the mercy rule came into play on the second side. So, yeah, ReeaL was 25-11 here, just dominating his former team. And the series does end in 5. Toronto needed all 5 maps because the Den also went Heretics' way. They won that 250-199. But then the Den game 5 was a 6-3. JoeDeceives 8-4, ReeaL 8-7. And these these were the overall numbers. So ReeaL drops a 1.2, Insight with a good series to start off his campaign as, you know, obviously he's always been the main AR, but now CleanX is back alongside him as the AR as well, as the flex, which is kind of interesting. Metals and Trakes both with a 0.82, and I think that's the concern for Heretics this season, is that last year you would occasionally get the off series from Metals, but because you had Rancor Super and ReeaL, you could get away with it sometimes. Whereas if, you know, if Trakes can't do what ReeaL was doing, then it's going to be a problem, I think, for these guys. But regardless, it's early days. The fact that they went to 5, it is what it is. We've seen plenty of great teams that have won world championships lose their opening games of the season, as with OpTic for the last couple of years. Then we got this, right? So Toronto say, hey, Miami, you dropped something in this picture of ReeaL. Now, of course, they didn't. There's a bit of rage bait here because they didn't really drop him, right? Toronto went and poached him. So, look, we know what they're doing. They're trying to rile up a little bit of drama. Obviously, you're getting replies like the following, but also there were plenty of replies in Spanish as well. Now, Aroma, content guy for Koi, he was on a mission last night to rile up the Heretics fans, and it worked remarkably well. So he puts this out, yo, Trakes, you're moving, G, because I think Trakes maybe had a few words to say about Koi when he was joining the team. And then Aroma went on to say this, the Trakes that turned up today, because there was all this talk from Heretics about, oh, they're going and getting an Argentinian player, and Trakes, effectively, he's Lionel Messi, right? He's going to help round out the team. So Aroma puts this one out, and, you know, you can only imagine the replies. What I thought was hilarious about this is that the top reply was from MethodSick, the coach of Miami Heretics, and he says the following: constantly bullying a player is the mark of a son of a great bitch. Not even a son of a bitch, a son of a great bitch. I've never seen that before. Obviously it's translated, so it's still hilarious. Let's hope nothing bad happens to you in life, because I'm going to throw a huge party, which is a remarkable bit of trash talk there, I thought. So yeah, just absolutely brilliant stuff. Long may this continue. And then Aroma's like crying like a big baby. MethodSick then responds and says, let's see if you're actually grown enough to handle this face to face instead of hiding behind a screen and acting like a clown for attention. And then he says, I just want to see if you're the same in person as you are behind a screen. So anyway, brilliant stuff. As I say, hopefully we get many more Miami versus Toronto matchups this upcoming season. There were 2 other storylines of the day as well happening in the CDL. Lqgend was one of them. So Surge played Gentlemates. It was a 3-0 like many of us expected. But Lqgend, look, does he look better now than he did a couple of weeks ago when the first game came out? Yeah, I think he does. Is that going to be enough? Not necessarily, especially when Envoy's given a few words. Now, this was pretty spicy. I'll share for you guys in a second what FormaL had to say about it and Scump had to say, because obviously Lqgend, FormaL's teammate from Halo recently, still kind of like an OpTic guy in some sense anyway. Now, of course, he's with the Surge, but Envoy says, damn, it's Lqgend, he's the last man up, this guy's lost, he doesn't know what he's doing. Now, Envoy clarified, whether I believe his clarification, I'm not so sure, right? He replies and says, it was no disrespect, the guy was last alive a couple of times, nowhere to be found. I'm saying this so we just run forward and don't look for him, right? But, you know, when I share the clip, did you hear what Envoy had to say if you guys weren't watching it last night? I think there's a little bit, at least, in there from Envoy that's like, this Lqgend guy doesn't really know what he's doing in COD quite yet. Now, look, people are going to reply, people are going to say, well, Envoy, watch out, because in 4 months this guy's going to be putting you in the dirt. Look, we'll see, right? We'll see how it goes for Surge, but I think it feels like they've improved to a degree in the last couple of weeks. And, well, they'll need to improve a lot more than this, because especially in Overload, I think Gentlemates probably knew they were getting the win anyway. Scrap says, nice response, pussy. Yeah, nice, been rage baited again, he says. So, all rather entertaining. But Heretics do take the 3-0. Wasn't especially close. Lqgend then was with a 0.84. Lunarz a 0.82. Gwinn actually had a really good start to the first map, then it started to fall off. Ghosty is looking pretty godlike on this game so far. He's got a 1.5 in that series yesterday. To be fair, the damage is pretty well even across the board, and Lqgend didn't have much damage at all. So I'm not saying Legend's great by any means, but, you know, it wasn't a 0.6 as I think some were expecting, so maybe there's still some positive trajectory left. The other final series was Cloud9 versus G2, and this is actually a banger to watch, right? Afro had a huge takeover on the game 4. He actually dropped 44 kills, I think, in the end. And there's also this I just wanted to quickly mention before we discuss the other Dashy related stuff, that I don't know what's going on with these characters in this game, but I thought I was losing my mind with some of the moaning that I was hearing on stream yesterday. And thankfully, the casters and the watch party started to acknowledge it, because I actually thought I was going insane. So, yeah, I don't really know why the devs are so freaky this year, but I think we've seen this before, and it's so loud and noticeable on the stream right now. And, well, there's another clip that I'll share with that one. But G2 get over the line here against Cloud9 in the end. It was crimp losses map 1 until it wasn't. So it was actually a huge comeback from Cloud9. Not a huge comeback, but it was pretty impressive they won this one. But in Search and Destroy, G2 just looking a little bit too good. Estriel with a big takeover as well as the series went on. Certainly the map 3, he had a big series. The game 4 was also all Estriel, but Afro dropped 44 and 28 to get Cloud9 the dub. So, both of these teams are exciting, right? Cloud9 has some serious pace going on, as you would expect. Unfortunately for Vivid, he did drop a donut map 5, 0-8 on the Scar Decider, so that was pretty brutal. But G2, yeah, early Search and Destroy, early signs looking pretty good for that team. But I think both of these teams could be a little bit better than people expected before the season began. But I will share those clips now, in addition to this one from Dashy, where he's talking about Heretics and the fact that they've not scrimmed against them quite yet.
Couch, dead. Couch. Inner, dead. 3. I'm going.
Not a ball. Probably mid or something.
It's Lqgend, bro. He's lost. I'm going there.
I don't like that.
I'm absolutely.
That's not Lqgend. He's one shot.
Fuck up, Bill.
Dead.
Yeah,
Come on,
we can get
Two on ball.
Razor.
2 on ball. One shot Abe, 2 on ball, yeah.
This guy's P2 using?
Yeah.
Simple at your
Dante, hello. We're good. He's my
They're
Right here in the second half. Ooh. Flurry of kills for G2.
Alright.
Did you
Yeah.
hear a random player moan in your ear, Joe?
Yes.
Wait, I thought that was Riley.
Wait,
he started,
that was not Riley?
Yo, I thought that was you because you started laughing.
What the fuck?
Quiet and the moan's so loud.
That's the...
Yeah, we've only scrimmed like 4 or 5 teams.
Yeah, because when we were watching you guys play like Thieves, LAG,
We haven't played Toronto.
Boston.
Yeah, Boston sometimes.
Yeah.
We haven't played Miami this whole year. We haven't played Falcons, and we haven't played Toronto.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how
Just like why though?
both those teams look. Have
Miami?
you played Miami?
No, we haven't, because we apparently played them in 2 weeks. I'm like, really? Like, it's fucking league matches. It's gonna treat it like it's champs.
Yeah, like no scrims.
Yeah, like what?
I swear to God, like that's some shit that you, bro. That's what they did last year. They were like, "Oh, we play you guys potentially second round at champs." We're like, "Bro, just play us, bro." Like,
Nah, bro, that's some major shit.
That's
Like
what I said.
the
I'm
majors
like-
coming up. All right, they're on our side of the bracket.
it's
We won't
second league
play
match.
them.
It's actually
Yeah,
comedy.
it's a fucking league match.
we can't play. We play you guys in 3 weeks, bro. I don't even know what I'm doing yet. I don't even know what I'm sniping.
Might be.
Always 2 sides of the story, right? Maybe arguably 3 sides of the story, because a couple of people from Heretics said, well, actually, no, that's not true, because the scrim that he's talking about, we were scheduled to scrim OpTic, but then Trakes was flying in, so we had to cancel it. But then there was talk from OpTic that actually JP had tried to reschedule it, and he got ghosted, right? So there's 2 sides, because Heretics are saying, well, actually, no, we were going to scrim you, but circumstances. And then OpTic are like, well, if you really wanted to, and we are the reigning world champions and the best team of the game right now, so probably you would want to, you would imagine, they decided to do exactly the opposite. So they do play in a few days. It's actually next weekend on the Saturday, they play Heretics. So OpTic Heretics next weekend. So, yeah, okay, fair enough. As Dashy kind of implies, look, it ain't champs, right? Like, sure, if you're leading up to champs and you play in winners round 1, winners round 2 potentially, then yeah, I get it. But if it's a league match early days, OpTic, none of the teams really fully know what they're doing right now. And also, surely for Heretics, you want to play the best teams. Like OpTic, they say they're scrimming Thieves a lot, they're scrimming Gentlemates a lot. Well, no shock that both of those teams, still questions on Thieves, but no shock that those teams are looking the best, right? Because it seems that the best teams are scrimming each other and making each other better. So if you're a team that ain't the best right now, probably a good idea to try and get on in the action there. But that's the situation from the Heretic side. Lots of drama going on there today. But let's talk about the matches for tonight. So to close out the weekends, these are the 3 games. All of these are very interesting. Of course, Thieves are the heavy favourites against the Falcons. I would expect them to win and probably win quite comfortably at that. But, what can Falcons do? At the end of the day, this is a Cellium story, because Cellium, we believe, was Thieves' first choice to be their replacement for Ghosty. But they tried to get Drazah. He said no as well because of the scrap drama. Then they got Kenny. So this is going to prove to a certain extent whether Cellium has made the right decision, right? Because he's gone to Falcons, yeah, he's got paid a lot more money, but if they get absolutely trounced by the Thieves, then there will be heads that are turned. Then Gentlemates play FaZe, so a tough opening weekend for FaZe for sure. I definitely don't have them winning this one after what happened the other day against Thieves. So yeah, we need to see more from the rest of the team, because on Gentlemates they have 4 players who can all pop off and do pretty well. Right now that is not the case, it seems, for FaZe. And then OpTic G2, very interesting, right? G2 looking pretty good so far. Obviously, OpTic would be the favourites, but I think the G2 can at least sneak a map in there. So very much interested in your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.